Hi everyone, Jim here. Welcome to my channel, Mystery and Mayhem. It's been a while since I've posted a video. It's been 11 days. I want to say it's been 11 days since my last confession, since we all kind of confess our book reading sins to the booktube god. But yeah, it's been a while, and I apologize for that. My wife and I have been homesick for the last week or so, but I did manage to squeeze in a couple of live streams with my Holmes boys, Mark, Greg, and Alan, actually, from Big Hard Books and Classics, and Mark from Book Time with Elvis, and Greg from Another Bibliophile Reads. Now, Randy was one of our co-hosts, but he hasn't been able to make the live streams for the last few weeks. But yeah, we finally wrapped up our fourth live stream for Holmes is Where the Heart Is, and we probably will be following it up with another episode either next week or the week after. That's kind of up in the air right now, but we want to do a follow-up for the Holmes event, which I think just went over real well. I think everybody's enjoyed it, and wanted to do an update on what I read the last 2 weeks. I really haven't, as I said, I haven't really done an update on that, so I'm going to show you what I read for the last two prompts. But first I want to get to Garbagus 2.5, which was last weekend, the Wasted Weekend, which was created by Ollie over at Criminali. One of my last videos, you might remember if you watched it, I asked you guys to vote out of 5 books to see which one I would read for the Wasted Weekend. I ended up reading 2 of them, but the one you guys voted for was Blade, Empire of Blood by Jeffrey Lord. And I read that one. I can't say as I was real impressed with it. I've been wanting to read them for a while, and for what it was okay. I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads, and I'm not sure if it deserves that, but I mean, the writing itself wasn't bad. Like the fight scenes were well written, but the premise of this is that Richard Blade is a Secret Service agent. He works for MI6, but he works for a secret department within MI6 who have created a transportation device that sends agents to another dimension. And apparently, apparently the character of Richard Blade is really the only one who can kind of survive the process of this machine. And it's unclear, it might be clear in other books, but it wasn't in this one. When they send him to Dimension X, that's what they call it, Dimension X. I don't know if it's different locations for each book within Dimension X, or if it's a different dimension each time, or if it's different planets. I don't know. It was really kind of sketchy, and it wasn't really explained that well. But his goal this time, I guess he has to have a goal every time for every book, but his only goal this time was he strapped a knife around his waist with his commando belt, and the goal was to see if the knife and the commando belt would transport to the dimension and back again. As far as I could tell, that was the only goal in this book, and it did survive. So once he transported into the new dimension, he runs into some natives of that dimension, and they immediately take him prisoner. They take him to their emperor, which is, that's the title, the Empire of Blood, and he's just a despicable, despotic ruler. And he immediately, the emperor throws Richard Blade into the dungeon, where Richard Blade stays for days, and then they throw him onto this slave galley, where he stays chained to the oars on the slave galley for months, apparently, and very, very passive. He doesn't try to escape. It's a little drawn out. He kind of just waits around for something to happen that will help him, escape this galley. It happens. Some pirates attack him. He gets out of his chains. He takes over the ship. you know, and it goes on and on. It's very drawn out. You know, and I normally enjoy books like this. I mean, this kind of stuff's right up my alley. But it wasn't well done. Like, I've read better. It wasn't necessarily very exciting or very engaging. Like I said, the fight scenes were written very well, and you know, because it was the time, it was the 70s. Every woman he meets apparently can't resist him and throw themselves at him. You know, and there's you know, sexual encounters in here, which are a little, you know, a little awkward. I'd just rather get to the story and tell a good story. But as I said, I still gave it 3 stars, and I'll probably try to read more of them. I have 5 on my shelf, and I know it was written by different authors, so I'm willing to give other ones a chance and see if they do get any better. So I read that one very, very quickly. I think I read it in a day, which freed up time to read another trash novel, and this was Longarm, number 15, On the Devil's Trail by Tabor Evans. And again, these are written by different authors, so I'm not too sure who was responsible for this one, but this novel was much, much better than the Blade novel that I read. I actually really enjoyed this one. You know, and he suffers from the same irresistible charm apparently that Blade did, and every woman that he meets in the story throws themselves at him, and we're made to suffer through these escapades throughout the book. But other than that, it was a very, very good book, and there was a nice surprising element to it that the Native Indians weren't the bad people in this. They actually were done in a very sympathetic way, and Marshall Custis Long, which is his real name, Longarm is his nickname, he helps them throughout the book, and it was well written, just a good, you know, kind of formulaic Western, which is kind of what I love, and it was well done, and I'm going to read more of them. I have maybe about 10 of them on my shelf, so I'm going to give them another shot. And that's, you know, if you're into that kind of stuff, you like Westerns, it was, yeah, surprisingly, I didn't expect much from this, but I really enjoyed it. So that was my wasted weekend reads from last weekend. And throughout the week and this last weekend, I was reading Sherlock Holmes, obviously. The pastiche week was this book, The Shadow of Reichenbach Falls. And this is written by John R. King, and it features the character of Sherlock Holmes, and he teams up with Thomas Carnacki, the ghost finder, as a young man. And the first half of the novel is told, it jumps back and forth from Carnacki's point of view to Sherlock Holmes' point of view, then it goes into the third person. So the first half of the novel was a little chaotic. Carnacki and this girl that he meets, Annie, witness the fight of Moriarty and Sherlock Holmes over the Reichenbach Falls, and they witness them going over, and Sherlock Holmes survives the fall, and they rescue him. So that's basically, it's their adventures up to a certain point. As I said, it's a little chaotic at the beginning, but then the next half of the novel is told from Moriarty's point of view. This is him narrating, you know, his version of events, and the novel got much better after that point, and I actually ended up really enjoying this. And of course, because Carnacki's involved in the story, there is a little bit of a supernatural element involved in this, but not too much to spoil it. You know, just enough. And if you can find this book, it's worth a read. As I said, I enjoyed it, and it got so much better as it went along. So yeah, that was my read for the third week, the Pastiche Holmes event. The Pastiche Holmes week. And this last week, I just finished this up the other day. Week number 4 was Legacy, to read a book or a character inspired by the character stories of Sherlock Holmes. And this is White Fire by Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. and it features the character Aloysius Pendergast, who's a special FBI agent. And this book, I gave it 5 stars on my Goodreads account because I loved it so much. This is my second time reading it, and it's just very enjoyable. It's a love letter to Sherlock Holmes fans. You know, if you're a Sherlock Holmes fan, this is just full of Easter eggs, and the story starts retelling about, I think I mentioned this in another video, about the dinner that Lippincott magazine had for Arthur Conan Doyle and Oscar Wilde, trying to convince them to write a story for their magazine. They wanted to open up a British branch of their magazine, and which was a true story. This actually happened. So the novel begins with that. It begins with Oscar Wilde telling Arthur Conan Doyle kind of a story that kind of terrifies him. And so as a result of this story that Oscar Wilde tells Arthur Conan Doyle, he writes a story about it. And it's kind of a lost story. So that's kind of dealt with later on in the book, where there's a complete Sherlock Holmes short story in here that the character of Pendergast finds in this secret study that Doyle used to go to and write his stories that nobody knew about. And of course there's another underlying story about this small town of Roaring Fork, and there's an arsonist at bay, and he's burning down these houses and killing the residents of this small town. The other character in this is a ward of Pendergast. Her name is Corey, and she's the other main character in this. But yeah, this is part of a series. This is number 13 in the series, and I'm kind of progressing my way through the series. But for this one, I had read, like I said, I'd read it before. You know, this is actually the first one I read of a Pendergast novel, and I decided to read it again. It jumps ahead a little bit on where I am in the series, but I had to do this especially for this event and this Legacy Week. Yeah, sorry, my voice is a little off, so I'm probably not sounding as well as I normally do. Yeah, so that's it. I don't really have much other news to update you on. I don't have the book handy. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. This is my current novel that I'm reading. Now, I ordered this off Amazon, and this is written by Gareth Howells, who is the host of the BookTube channel, Book Songs and Other Magic. And yeah, I haven't got very far in it yet, but it's just a fun romp. It's about this group of musicians. They're intergalactic a group of musicians, and they travel the galaxy. They travel throughout space, and I think different dimensions, and do gigs all over the place. And they're a fairly well-known band, and people love them. But the characters in this are just so unique and humorous, and I'm really enjoying it so far. But as I said, I won't say much about it because I'm not too far in. But I'm enjoying it so far. And when I finish, I will probably do a video on it and let you know a little bit more about it. But the characters are so well drawn out, and you can tell that Gareth is a musician, because you read what goes on, and you kind of tell that he's kind of drawing from his own experience regarding these characters' experiences, and I just think it's cool. It's a big book, fairly big book, and I just think it's cool that he was able to do that and upload his own book to Amazon, and I want more people to read this. So yeah, very interesting. That's what I'm reading now. What else have I got to say? Regarding Sherlock Holmes, the Sherlock Holmes Week, I picked up this magazine at the store the other day. This should be out on the shelf still if you're interested in learning more about Sherlock Holmes and Arthur Conan Doyle and his life. This is an interesting book. It's got lots of cool pictures in it. You know, there's Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce. It's got some cool artwork in it. Let's see. Let me follow. Yeah, this Collier's cover. That Collier's cover is just iconic. I love that. So yeah, I mean, it's a little steep. It was like $18, but yeah, it's worth checking out if you want to know a little bit more about the character in Arthur Conan Doyle. So I'm gonna leave it at that, and I will probably be doing the Annoyed book tag, the Annoyed booktube tag on Tuesday. I'm going to film that and probably release that on Tuesday, because I've been tagged a few times in that and I just haven't gotten around to it, and I apologize for that. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that, and you guys take care. I'll talk to you soon. Keep reading.